Okay, good. I would like to kick this program off by inviting Hans Tung, who I saw here a minute ago. Where there he is. Oh wow. Hi Hans. Hans is going to come over here from all the way from Silicon Valley and GGV Capital, one of the leading U.S. based firms doing China investing. They are also based in Shanghai. Hans is on the Forbes Midas list and has been on the list for many years. And I've known Hans for, I don't know, 15 years maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, we met in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been tracking GGV Capital ever since Alibaba.
That's right.
Okay, so we're gonna do a Q&A chat here. So stay tuned. Hans, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Where'd you fly in from? Silicon Valley? San
Yeah,
Fran?
this was Silicon Valley, and afterwards we'll go back there, and then off to Beijing
Okay.
for a weekend, and then go back to San Francisco.
This is kind of your life, back and forth.
Back and forth these days, yes.
And what's your favorite airline?
My favorite airline is the airline I'm not on it often, no.
Oh, okay, one that you're not on.
So, most of the Asian airlines are great.
They are.
They're fantastic.
They are, that's true.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right, yeah, Cathay, Singapore, Japan Airlines, etc. So Hans, look, you're in the news all the time these days, right? It seems that you're in the news almost every day just because China Tech is in the news every day.
I think it's because of China Tech. It's really because of China Tech, yes. I think we're at a time where seems that there are a lot of discussions or collaborations or clashes between the U.S. and China.
Yeah.
So over the weekend you have the on the political side more developments.
Sure.
And then on the internet, on the business side, Google just investing $150 million into JD.com.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what we said 5 years ago, that politically everything will become more local.
Yeah.
But tech business-wise, everything will be a lot more about convergence.
Right. So this new deal that Google just did kind of sets up a duel between Alibaba and JD, right? So what do you think about that? You were a lead, or GGV Capital was a lead investor in Alibaba. So how's this going to impact Alibaba?
Yeah, for GGV, we've been around 18 years. Started in Silicon Valley and then set up offices in China in 2005. In between, we became an investor in Alibaba in 2003. Personally, I was an investor in Xiaomi from day one. You see Donovan here from Xiaomi in the audience. We'll be speaking very soon, and he's a good speaker. A part of mine was an early investor in Baidu from Series A when he was at DFJ in Planet, Jixun Fu. We are close to Tencent. We have maybe almost 10 co-investments with them. We have done something with JD, but not that much. We were a personal investor in IPO, but that's about it. And then pretty much all the next generation of internet companies in China, whether it's Total, we're an investor in.
Right.
Meituan, I was an investor in from my previous fund.
Yeah.
And then who's the other one? Didi, we're an investor in as well.
So these are all companies that are going to go public pretty soon.
Well, sooner or later they will.
Well, probably sooner, right?
And so and all these companies are growing at such a fast pace. A lot of them are thinking expanding beyond China. Xiaomi is already number 1 or number 2 in many countries. So when you see these companies coming out, it's inevitable that they will run into some of the U.S. companies. And specifically to your question, Alibaba and JD have been going at each other in China, and Alibaba couldn't get rid of JD. And now JD wants to do more beyond China. Google seems like a natural partner who doesn't have much presence in China. So you will see a lot more of these marriage of conveniences where they could, some synergy could happen, but if it does not, JD will continue to grow, so Google's investment will make money either way.
So what do you think about the China tech giants going global and entering Western markets? Do they really have a chance at succeeding?
A lot of people outside, especially on the East Coast in New York or Europe, don't know much about what Chinese companies have done. And for those who are on the ground in China, back in 2005 when Jerry Yang used 1/3 of cash on the balance sheet of Yahoo to make an investment in Alibaba, everyone thought that Jerry Yang and Yahoo were crazy. Where's Yahoo today? And what was the valuation that Yahoo invested in Alibaba at? It was $5 billion. Made Alibaba the most expensive internet stock in China. Everyone thought that it's a huge bubble, it's about to burst. And Alibaba didn't have much revenue beyond their B2B advertising business. And today it's doing almost $1 trillion now in GMV on e-commerce. Valuation is $500 billion, and has a cloud business that's just starting to grow. And so the speed of change in just literally 13 years in China is something that's unprecedented almost anywhere else. And a lot of people miss that.
No, I think that is one of the main points today in the China tech community, that it is extremely fast moving, and you have this millennial generation that's all mobile.
Yep.
And has gotten into these super apps. Can you talk a little bit about how that whole thing has evolved with super apps, and what are super apps? Does everybody here know what a super app is? If not, Hans can explain it.
How many have you used have heard of WeChat?
I think this audience, probably most people here are using
Most people
WeChat.
have not heard of WeChat. So it's in Silicon Valley these days, probably 2/3 of people at your events, if not everyone, have heard of WeChat. So super apps in China are apps that can do multiple functions. It doesn't just do one thing. It can do communication, it can do messaging, it can do the news, it can do payment, it lets you shop for services. A lot of services are provided by other apps on top of it. These are super app because it's become a platform, almost become an operating system. So that doesn't matter if you're using an Android phone or iPhone, you've got WeChat, you can use it to shop on JD, you can use that to order a car from Didi, the Uber of China. You can use that to pay for your utility bills. You can use that to do peer-to-peer payment with your friends to settle a dinner bill that you would do with a Venmo. It's everything in one app, but the app is done in such a way with multiple channels that each one can be plugged in different services that other apps are doing.
Right.
And that's something that you don't see it in the US as much these days.
Yeah. I was going to ask you,
But
when
you talk to Uber.
Yeah, why
you
aren't
talk
we
to
seeing
Uber.
this?
Uber's
Yeah.
becoming a super app.
Uber's
Uber has the
becoming
Uber
a
Eats.
super app.
Uber wants to do more than just rideshare and Uber Eats. You talk to Dara, and you listen to his talk at Rico. Clearly, he's thinking more about anything that needs to be moved, whether people or orders or even cargo at some point in the future, that Uber wants to be in it.
Yeah.
So I think over time, more and more US companies are learning from China. And now with the WhatsApp, the original founders are no longer there, that Facebook is trying to make WhatsApp more like WeChat.
Yeah. So why are the U.S. companies behind the China companies? I mean, the U.S. with the internet was kind of all the original internet companies came from the U.S., Silicon Valley, basically, the Facebook and Google and so forth. So why are the Chinese companies? How did they get ahead on? How did they become more advanced in these kinds of features?
I think two reasons. When Facebook announced the Facebook Connect, it sent a shockwave through the Chinese ecosystem. And people didn't know that there's a way you can actually get a super website to be the login ID for many other websites. And that idea carried over not only on the PC desktop world, also to the app world. So Chinese pushed that concept and did more with it. That's the first thing. Second thing is that in China, since the offline world is a lot less efficient than the offline world in the US, there's a lot more services that need to be rendered via a mobile app. So when that happens, you have a lot more apps out there that's taking over the daily functions. And if that happens, then it only takes someone to say, and in this case, Alan Zhang of WeChat, founder of WeChat, saying, why can I not be the Facebook Connect for the mobile app world? And then connect to everyone else that has these vertical functions, so that we become Facebook Connect, Square, to empower. And it seems like US is stopped short of that, but did not push more. And whereas Chinese did. So I think what you will see is that people will learn more from each other and say, well, if that's possible, we can do that too. So over time, you will see a lot more convergence.
Okay. A lot of people are comparing Alibaba and Amazon these days, and I know you have done some comparisons at GGB
Correct.
Capital. So how do they compare and contrast? Is Alibaba actually more advanced than Amazon?
I think Amazon definitely more advanced on the cloud side. Yeah, for AWS, clearly it has done a big little business for much longer, and Ali's catching up on that and made a conscious effort to do so, and it's become a growth engine for them. On the sort of new retail side, where it's experimenting with online to offline combination, Amazon Go only still has one store in Seattle.
And we're not going to see it in Whole Foods anytime soon, you think?
And you look at Alibaba has its own super retail, super grocery store, Hema, offline.
Yeah.
And they're now in sort of in the hundreds, and more are coming out. And there are other companies that's invested by Ali that's doing that, and by Tencent pushing that more. So because offline world is more inefficient in China, there's a lot more opportunity for this internet company with traffic to expand in offline with partners or their own incubated companies, and the speed of which is something that's unprecedented.
Okay. So what do you think about, a lot of people are also talking about the AI race, China and the US, and Google and Baidu and some other challengers as well. So what do you think about that? Who has the edge in AI? Who's going to actually, can Baidu actually, we have somebody here speaking from Baidu today, can Baidu become the AI leader of the world or not?
I'm not going to comment specifically on Baidu, but I'll leave it for Nan to answer that. But I think Google is obviously still an amazing company. So I think when it comes to AI, Google will continue to push the envelope. But as it does that, it seems like there's this growing, I wouldn't say tension or friction, but more meeting of the minds need to happen between DeepMind and Google. Because Google is increasingly about monetization and where do you go with these interesting projects that you're pushing. China, on the other hand, every AI project has sort of an end goal that it needs to have. So I think the Chinese founders and executives have reduced a lot of sort of complex problems into a mathematical equation. How do I get to this number? How does Xiaomi need to sell, for example, $100 million phones a year? It reduced everything to a mathematical equation. Can we solve that? And how much time do we need? How much research do we need to solve that equation? So I think in the near term, especially in the medium term, you probably see China moving faster with more concrete results. It remains to be seen if you call that a race. I don't think so. I think both sides are doing more for their own country.
So we do have a number of China unicorns that are heading to public offerings, mostly in Hong Kong, for Xiaomi, right?
Yeah.
And
Xiaomi, the first they'll be able to do both a CDR in China as well as
Right.
list overseas in Hong Kong.
okay, so talk about why they would go to Hong Kong versus New York.
I think a key thing is that the turnover, investor turnover for Chinese companies in the U.S. Each year is almost 100%. Baidu gets a different investor almost every single year. So the communication cost of doing that in the U.S. is high because, quite frankly, most of the investors who buy these stocks are not users of those stocks. So it's harder to know if the company is doing well if you don't use the product that often. And some of the companies that have listed from China, quite frankly, haven't done as well in a U.S. stock exchange. The great ones, whether it's Alibaba and JD and others, have done tremendously well. But the smaller caps haven't done as well. So if I were Xiaomi, if I were Didi, if I were Meituan, I would think twice about where I want to go. And even Alibaba thought hard about doing this in Hong Kong before. So at least people in Hong Kong, you have a lot of investors who are familiar with China, familiar with the products and services of Chinese companies. It's easier for people to understand the risk of the individual companies instead of buying it because of China growth.
Meituan has just announced that they're going to go public in Hong Kong as well.
And all of them are thinking about evaluating the same alternative.
Evaluating the same alternatives.
And all of them will end up having some kind of CDR in China so that the Chinese investor can buy the stock with RMB. Because right now, for all the stocks listed in Hong Kong, you still have to use Hong Kong dollars to make those investments.
Okay.
You got to be a qualified investor. So there's a lot more restrictions. By having overseas listing, you have a stock that's liquid for international expansion. At the same time, you have a CDR, a China depository receipts. You almost have the best of both worlds.
So the returns for the early venture investors in these companies are generally very good. So what about for the average investor out there? Is it a good bet for them?
And for venture investing, only the top 20% make money.
Okay.
Top 20% make 80%
But,
of the money.
okay.
So
GDP
it's hard.
made
It's
a
hard.
lot of money from Alibaba.
It's
IPO,
hard
right?
to say what will happen to the average investor. But I think if
Okay.
you're an investor, that personal investor that bought Alibaba stock at its IPO, or Baidu stock at its IPO, or Tencent stock at its IPO, you obviously have done extremely well. So you can buy these stocks as a publicly traded company, just buy it early and be able to have the faith and confidence that China economy will continue to grow and internet will grow much faster than even a regular Chinese economy. I went to China in 2005, and the GDP growth in 2005 for China was 12%. Every year it has declined. Every year since 2005, the GDP growth in China has declined. And the people in the West especially make a lot of news about that, especially the last 5 years. It doesn't really matter if internet is growing because the whole economy is changing its constitution. And that's what people miss, that the new economy, the internet-driven economy is upgrading the original offline economy. And in that process, overall growth was slowing down, but the growth of the internet side is growing up so much faster. You look at Alibaba numbers, you look at Tencent numbers, as a publicly traded company, as $500 billion market cap companies are growing at 50, 60% year on year. How many companies around the world at that size is growing at 50, 60% year on year?
How much money did GGV Capital make from the Alibaba investment?
It's quite a bit. I won't get into the details, but I don't think we ever disclose that. But I think everyone pretty happy with the result.
Oh, right. Yeah, we know.
And hopefully after Xiaomi IPO, more people will be happy with the result as well.
Okay, Xiaomi. Everybody knows who Xiaomi is, right? If you don't know, stick around because they're going to be on soon. Okay, so this past year, China venture capital caught up to the level of the U.S. venture capital level. Is it going to surpass?
Good question. The chance of it surpassing the U.S. is high because you have both RMB investing and also U.S. dollar investing. Originally, when we had a forecast, we think that growth the rest of the world, the internet space, probably 3x. What is it in China? And that number is converging. Now it's more equal to each other. And I think what will happen is that in the short term, China will continue to move ahead at a faster pace than the rest of the world. But in the next 5 to 10 years, countries that are willing to adopt a combination of Chinese and US internet business models will be able to grow fast. And so it would be, each country has to choose how it wants to grow and change. And the countries that, I think, for example, that Xiaomi will be in, will be the kind of countries that are willing to take on more of a Chinese internet business models. And that's the type of countries that can go through faster economic growth later. So down the road, 5 to 10 years from now, you wouldn't see China dominating as much. For the short term, before that happens, China will be, growth will be all about China.
So speaking of business models and China business models, you've invested in a social mobile commerce company, shopping company.
Xiaohongshu?
Yes. So tell the audience what's unique about that company.
The little Redbook, the user interface is a combination of Pinterest and Instagram. So everything you see on it is based on feeds with a lot of images in the photos and also videos. What is interesting about it is that it's searchable in the sense that you can look for brands, look for stuff from Japan, from Korea, from Europe, different countries in Europe and US. Yet everything you see every video, every photo is contributed by a user. And there's a lot of comments about why this product is interesting for a variety of reasons, people's user experience with it. So it's coming from more of a trusted, curated source, but the UI is very easy to consume. It's searchable and also discoverable. So it serves both two things of discovering new stuff, as well as finding out more about what you want to know, what you want to learn more about. So it's almost like a book on shopping or a better lifestyle. So it's easy for people to spend hours and hours on it. And he raised about $300 million from Alibaba last month. We invested back in 2014 at in hindsight, very low price.
We had one of the co-founders speak at our Shanghai event.
Right. Back then, when they had no revenue, it seems like very high price. So what a lot of people miss about China is that every round you invest, and Xiaomi was like that too, every round you can look at and say it's too expensive. It's irrational. It doesn't make sense. But the growth that happens thereafter makes you look back in hindsight because, oh my God, I can't believe we're able to get into the deal. So if it doesn't grow, it doesn't really matter at what price you pay. if it grows, in hindsight, it ends up being extremely reasonable. So focusing on how big the market will be, how much of impact this particular team or app can make in the country, how much efficiency they bring into what's already there, is a very sociological approach of investing, rather than just based on numbers and dollars and cents. So every time the LPs or allocated assets, this is expensive. What's the valuation? It's like completely miss the picture. Because if you don't know if this will be big or not big, it doesn't really matter what price you pay. You will lose money.
Okay, my last question. There's a lot of talk also about China's entrepreneurial culture and what absolutely about from the copycat to the innovators today. But on the culture of the entrepreneurs, 996.
Right.
There's a term.
We have podcasts about it.
Right, coin 996. What, everybody here know what 996 is? Okay, Hans, explain it.
996 means 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. How many people here like to work 6 days a week? Who does, right? So in China, in the US, it's work-life balance, and it's extremely reasonable, and we are very mindful of that. And in Europe, it's even more, because what's the point of working? We don't know how to live. But fortunately or unfortunately, and Donovan knows better than almost anyone else in this room, they are founders in China, especially in the internet side, that sees how company can scale so quickly from Alibaba 2005, 5 billion to now only 13 years later, 1,000x more. If you work hard, you work fast, you can grab a huge market share and scale the business in a way that's just not possible before. So a lot of internet sectors in China, most people work 996. We also have people like Lei Jun or Xiaomi that work 007. Basically, guys doesn't sleep at all. Just go home, take a shower, and go back to the office. And I remember after we first invested in Xiaomi, when we see Lei Jun, it's like 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And for better or for worse, 80% of people were still there. And there were 2 people ahead of me who need to talk to them. And so how can a company grow from no revenue, just a startup in 2010 to last year, 18 billion US in revenue, the fastest company to reach that number? Partially it's hard work, partially it's intelligence, partially it's just that drive of that there could be more, and it's so close, we just need to go get it. And that go get them attitude is similar to what I've seen every rise and fall, the rise of every empire I've seen since the beginning of the age of exploration. It's like, it's there, let's go get them. And the British felt that way before, the Dutch felt that way before, the French felt that way before, the Germans felt that way before, and now you see it in China with all the internet guys going at it. Okay. And it's a student history, and it's outside of it, not just as a participant, but someone who observed from the outside. You sit there and wonder, only a few times in history do something like this happen. And when it does, you somehow should figure out a way to take advantage of that. Otherwise, it's a shame, because it doesn't last.
Right. Okay, Hans, let's go get him.
Sounds good.
Give a round of applause for Hans. Hans is going to be staying as one of our judges, so we are very lucky to have him here today. So thanks again, Hans.